In this video, we're going to look at the top 5 most common Home Depot interview questions, and I'm going to help you plan fantastic answers that will land you a job with Home Depot. So let's start with a question that always comes up in customer service type roles, which is how would you deal with a rude customer? And this is a daily occurrence in some places. And there is a simple procedure that you can follow to answer this question that scores very highly on interviews. So the first thing you're going to absolutely stress to your employer is that you would never argue back. You're never going to raise your voice. You're never going to be rude or unpleasant back to that customer. You're always going to be calm, and your goal is to calm down the customer. And a great word to use in your answer is the word de-escalate. You're going to de-escalate the situation. So you're going to calm everyone down, get the situation under control. You're also going to get into your answer that you're going to follow the company's policies, that you're not going to just bend the rules just to make this customer a little bit happier. You're always going to follow the company's policies, but in a calm, friendly manner. For example, if someone wants to return some goods and the company policy says that these can't be returned, then you can't just process the return. You have to follow the company's policies at all times. You're not the person that sets the company's policies. But overall, another great thing to get in to finish off your answer is to talk about that you see yourself as the public face of the brand in this interaction, that you are representing Home Depot and you want them to look really good in this interaction. You're going to be really professional, calming down the customer and following all of the company's policies. And if you get those 4 ideas into your answer, you will score very highly on this question. So moving on to the second question, this I can guarantee you will come up at some point. I'll be very surprised if it doesn't. And that is, can you tell me the hours you're available to work? And it is super important for you to answer this question in a way that fits their needs. And really, they're looking for someone who is, firstly, reliable. You have to show some reliability, that if they need you at a certain time, you're going to do your best to be there. And so you're there when they need you, and you are absolutely as flexible as you possibly can. To score well on this question, you have to show off as much flexibility. They want people that are flexible and reliable. But they also want certain things. So some really great things to mention is late openings. They are slightly harder to staff. If you can work weekend shifts, again, harder to staff. So if you start reeling these things off to your manager that's interviewing you, they are seeing solutions to their problems, and therefore you go up in their estimations. Instead of talking about your other commitments and why they're a big problem, talk about how you've worked around your commitments. If you can work in the school holidays, that's a really good thing to mention. And also, don't talk about not being able to do things. It's better to talk about having a preference and then talk about how you can be flexible about it. For example, you say, generally, I would prefer to work normal business hours. However, I can do late openings when you need, and I can work weekend shifts, but generally I would prefer this. And another key idea is to always focus on what you can do and not what you can't. What people do really badly on this question is they immediately go straight to, I can't work weekends, I don't do evenings, I've got children, and it's this huge problem that's going to make me so annoying to the company that I can never work at all of these times when you need people. And that's not very helpful. So absolutely, in every single thing that you do in this question, talk about what you can do. Always reframe the question onto can. Don't bring up what you can't do. Let the other person interviewing you bring that up. And when they bring it up, be honest, but refocus it on what you can do and show that flexibility, and you will ace this question. Third question, what can you tell me about Home Depot? And the great thing about this question is if you do your preparation, you can do absolutely amazing on this question. It may not be that they ask this question directly, and so throughout the interview, you can be dropping all of these pieces of information and pieces of research that you've done. But should they ask this question directly, there is a simple strategy to answer it. Start by saying things that everybody knows about Home Depot. It's a big box retailer. It's got big out-of-town stores. It's in the Fortune 500. It's an international brand, and it sells home improvement goods. Everybody knows that. Then start moving out to some things that only some people would know. So you can talk a little about their history and how they were founded in Georgia, and talk about 1978. Then look at all of the charity things that Home Depot does. They're very proud of what they do for veterans and how they give back to society. And then to really impress people, go really deep and find a couple of facts that only very, very few people would know. For example, in Canada, it's not the Home Depot, it's just Home Depot. And so there's little things like that you can drop in that shows you've done research and you know exactly what you're doing and you're well prepared. This question can really, really boost you if you show off amazing research, because most people really haven't done their research in interviews. Moving on to question 4, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? And there is a key way to answer this question. The first thing is you want it to be credible. You don't want to say something ridiculous that you want to be on the board of directors in 5 years' time. It's not particularly likely, and it's not really the career path that they're offering you. But then again, you do need to have some sort of plan, again, a credible plan, and it should be well planned. You should have thought about how you're going to get there, but most importantly, it should fit with the company's goals. So the absolute worst thing to say is that you're going to be leaving Home Depot, because they're not really hiring people to have them leave 5 minutes later. So some good things to talk about is how you're going to earn +1. So if you're interested in becoming an assistant manager, or if you're an assistant manager looking to become a manager, you can talk about what you're going to do during those 5 years to be really, really, really good at what you do, and how you're going to develop. So look at what Home Depot can offer you. And one of the questions you might ask at the end of the interview is, what training do the company provide that can help with my 5-year plan? And if you do these things, you can do really well in this question. The one other thing to be aware of is if you don't plan on being promoted and you don't want to be a manager, that's fine. Talk about how you're going to be really outstanding in your role and how you'll be able to support other colleagues and be a role model within Home Depot as a kind of center of excellence, if you like. And moving on to the last question, what experience do you have that makes you suitable for this position? So they're going to want to know about other experience, and it depends where you are in your career. And so I've given you a pyramid that's got progressively more useful and more valuable experience. So at the very top, home retail experience. So you've actually worked in a home improvement retail environment. You might have been selling, wood, or perhaps you worked for Lowe's or some specific home improvement focused retail operation. That's the absolute best. Most people probably don't have that. So the step down from that is you can talk about customer service experience. Any job that you have directly worked with customers is really valuable. Moving down, any DIY experience. If you've not worked in home retail, but you've got experience with DIY, that's great, because that's showing you've got some knowledge that you can bring straight into the company. And then at the very bottom, you've got things like school leadership. If you're a recent school leader, talk about the great things you did at school. And then absolutely any work experience is applicable to this question, as long as you show that you learned a lot from the work experience, and you have to show them exactly how it's relevant. Don't just mention the work experience. Mention the work experience and say, this relates to the role that I'm applying for because, and explain that. One of the most powerful things you can get across in here, and it's great to have a reference with you as well, is to show what your employer thought about you. If you've got a great reference where they said you're always reliable and you did a great job, that goes really, really far. And the last thing to talk about, and it's possible that it would be brought up, is why did you leave? And so it's important to think about this question and plan a good answer. So you want to say things like, if you're moving because of family, you're looking for new opportunities, you think Home Depot's got some fabulous opportunities, and talk really positively about the new role. Don't ever say anything negative about your previous work experience, because that really, really looks bad. So hopefully, by working through these 5 questions, you'll be in a position to plan really great answers that are going to land you the job with Home Depot. Hopefully this was very helpful to you. And finally, thank you very much for watching.